Okay, President Reed, you can start when you're ready.
All right. Board would now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Tyus.
I did my brother
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Present.
Alderman Coder.
Here.
Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Gunther. Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Present.
Alderwoman Howard.
Present.
Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderman Roddy.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Present.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Cone. 23 present.
Quorum being present, we begin the day with prayer. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. We dispense with line item 3, introduction of honored guests. Alderman from the 23rd.
And unmute myself. Yes, as always, I'd like to have Greg Meyer as my honored guest.
All right, welcome, Greg. Alderwoman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I am honored to have as my honored guest, Mrs. Edith Cooper, who is my neighbor next door to me. Mrs. Cooper's birthday is today. She turns 100 years old. I would ask this board to give her a hand. She still lives by herself. She's still getting around. You will know her. Her grandson is Mr. Hughes, who used to play basketball that went to St. Louis University. We're going to have a little parade for her later today. She is the second person in that house to turn 100 years old. She came to the house when her uncle, Mr. Williams, who was my original neighbor, turned 100, and she stayed with him until he died when he was 102. She is the 4th person on Maffitt Place that's an African-American to turn 100. Now, you would have to look at the statistics to know how awesome that is. I tell her when she leaves here in 20 years, Sterling and I want to move into that house because I want to be 100 also. But please join me in congratulating Mrs. Edith Cooper, one of the best neighbors in the world on her 100th birthday.
Birthday. Let's give a big round of applause for Miss Cooper. Congratulations on 100.
Thank you.
And enjoy the parade today. Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is July the 2nd, which is National Forgot Day. So I had some other things to say, but naturally I forgot.
All right. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes Friday, June 26, 2020, and Monday, June 29th, 2020.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for approval of the minutes dated June 26th and 29th, 2020.
Second.
Moved by Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by Alderman from 10th. Any discussion?
The partner of mine got chased in the car.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the aldermen's mailboxes. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Airport Arts Advisory Committee. The appointment of Ms. Stephanie Whedon Smith, who resides in the 8th Ward and whose term will expire on December 10th, 2021. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Lyda Crewson, Mayor.
Alderwoman of the 8th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Airport Arts Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the mayor's appointment of Ms. Stephanie Whedon Smith to the Airport Advisory Committee, Airport
Moved
Arts
by
Advisory.
Alderman from the 8th, entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderwoman from the 6th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for the appointment to the Waterman Lake Special Business District. The appointment of Ms. Bertha Mendoza, a renter within the district whose term will expire on December 31st, 2020. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Lyda Crewson, Mayor.
President Reed, you're on mute.
Alderwoman from the 28th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Waterman Lake Special Business District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve the mayor's appointment to the Waterman Lake Special Business District.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, entertain a second. Seconded by the Alderman from the 6th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for the appointment to the Euclid South Community Improvement District. The appointment of Mr. Brian Davies, a business owner representative within the district whose term will expire on January the 8th, 2022. The reappointment of Mr. Mark Rubin, a property owner representative within the district whose term will expire January the 8th, 2024. I respectfully request your approval of the appointments. Sincerely, Lyda Crewson, Mayor.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to the Euclid South Community Improvement District.
Yes, Mr. President, I move for approval.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 13th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the mayor's appointment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That is the extent of report of city officials.
Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We would dispense with line items 7 through 10, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 84, sponsored by Alderman Roddy, an ordinance renewing the previous determinations made by ordinance 66847 and ordinance number 66985, and as renewed by ordinance number 68754 and ordinance number 70119 for the redevelopment area, finding that the redevelopment of such area is necessary in the public interest under Chapter 353 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri, 2016 as amended, and under Chapter 1106 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, and is in the interest of the peace, public safety, health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people of the City of St. Louis, and renewing the certificate of public convenience and necessity granted by the City of St. Louis to CORTEX West Redevelopment Corporation to exercise the power of eminent domain within the redevelopment area. Board Bill 85, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance amending the redevelopment plan for the North Broadway, Carrie, Harris redevelopment area, approved by ordinance 67870 dated February the 4th, 2008. Board Bill 86, sponsored by Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance to regulate employer and employee working relationship between the city of St. Louis and all employees under the classified service, including the compensation plan, terms and conditions of employment, benefits, leaves of absence, authorization for a deferred compensation plan, allocating certain other employees to a grade with rate, amending section 16A, section 16B, section 16C, section 16D of ordinance 71099. The provisions of the sections contained in this ordinance shall be effective with the start of the first pay period following the approval by the mayor. Board Bill 87, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, an ordinance closing the St. Louis City's O'Fallon Park to the public and prohibiting all uses of O'Fallon Park by the public for the period beginning with the effective date of this ordinance and ending January the 1st, 2021. Board Bill 88, sponsored by Alderman Roddy and Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance establishing a three-way stop site at the intersection of Folsom Avenue and Klemm Street, regulating all traffic traveling eastbound and westbound on Folsom Avenue at Klemm Street, and regulating all traffic traveling northbound on Klemm Street at Folsom Avenue, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 89, sponsored by Alderman Roddy and Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance establishing a stop site at the intersection of McRee Avenue and Klemm Street, regulating all traffic traveling northbound and southbound on Klemm Street and McRee Avenue, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 90, sponsored by Alderman Boyd and Alderman Coder, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, wherein the Board of Aldermen authorizes the receipt of and appropriates funds awarded under the Emergency Solutions Grant Program of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Missouri Secretary of State's Assistant to Local Election Authorities COVID-19 Grant Program, and the Department of Health and Human Services Relief Fund, all relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 91, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to conditionally vacate above surface, and subsurface rights for vehicle, equestrian, and pedestrian travel in Montgomery from Glasgow eastwardly to a point previously vacated by ordinance 66616 and the 15-foot wide north-south alley in City Block 1897, beginning at Montgomery and ending to a point previously vacated by ordinance 66616 in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described in accordance with Charter Authority and in conformity with Section 14 of Article 21 of the Charter, and imposing certain conditions on such vacation. Board Bill 92, sponsored by President Reed and Alderman Muhammad, an ordinance in accordance with Article 25, Section 1 of the St. Louis City Charter, recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, amending the duties of the Division of Corrections and the Department of Health and Hospitals, directing the Commission of Corrections to begin the process of closing the St. Louis City Medium Security Institution, also known as the Workhouse, directing the Budget Director to analyze the net cost savings to the general fund of MSI, is no longer operated as a detainee facility and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 93, sponsored by President Reed, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing a supplemental appropriation amending ordinance commonly referred to as the City of St. Louis Annual Operating Plan for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, appropriating a sum of blank as determined in Section 8 of Ordinance blank and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the HUD's Committee. To the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 84 and 85. To Public Employee, Board Bill 86. To Public Safety, Board Bill 87 and 92. To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 88, 89, and 91. To the Special COVID-19 Committee, Board Bill 90, and to Ways and Means, Board Bill 93. That is extent of reference to committee.
We would dispense with line items 13 through 16. Third reading consent.
Board Bill 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 22, 45, 46, 47, and 60 as amended.
Alderman from 22nd, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the third reading consent calendar.
Second.
Moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the third reading consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderman Roddy.
Aye.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
26 aye votes.
I vote staying the motion. Alderman from the 22nd and third read and finally passed the aforementioned bills. Third reading report of engrossments.
We have none.
Report of enrollment.
Board Bill 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 22, 45, 46, 47, and 60 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Alderwoman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion for the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar, please.
Moved by the Alderman from
Second.
19th and seconded by the Alderman from 22nd. Any discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
Mr. President, I would like to recognize Mr. Ronald Moore. However, there is a bit of an error. Mr. Ronald Moore is still alive. So there was some conversation over that back and forth, but if we can correct that. He served in the Vietnam War. He's a Purple Heart recipient. And the St. Louis Honor Flight will be recognizing him next weekend on the 12th of July. And we would, we will pause in the deliberations here to recognize him and his accomplishments and contributions to the city of St. Louis. Thank you very much.
And also to our nation, congratulations.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Moore, for your commitment to our nation and to the city. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Been moved by the Alderman from 19th, seconded and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 24, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, urging the mayor and the director of public safety to open discussions with community support programs using persistent surveillance as part of a crime reduction strategy.
Alderman from the 16th, recognized on the first reading of resolution 24.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I request the clerk read the resolution in its entirety, please.
Madam Clerk, could you please read resolution 24?
Give me just a second. Yes, sir. Resolution 24, whereas according to 2017 Justice Department statistics, the city of St. Louis leads the nation in homicides at a rate of 66.1 murders per 100,000 people, and various costs of these crimes to the city of St. Louis, to the city and the community is significant. And whereas law enforcement agencies across the United States are exploring the use of aerial systems as a crime reduction strategy and to assist with multitude of policing tasks such as accident and crime scene investigation, search and rescue efforts, and oversight. And whereas as part of their crime reduction strategies, many such agencies are also exploring persistent surveillance, the use of photographic systems that cover large areas simultaneously over extended periods of time using aircraft and high vantage points such as buildings. And whereas this technology has shown great potential as a cost-effective tool for broadening crime-related information gathering and providing critical leads for investigators without increasing staff and workloads of existing personnel and mitigating the potential harms to personnel associated with gathering such information in the field. And whereas persistent surveillance also provides oversight for law enforcement agencies by identifying potential police misconduct, providing an unbiased witness in the form of photographic and video evidence, and by allowing investigators to identify and approach potential witnesses to misconduct with information to start discussion away from the scene. Now, therefore, let it be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we urge the Mayor and Director of Public Safety, with the cooperation and input of the City of St. Louis Division of Police Real-Time Crime Center, to open discussion with Dr. Ross McNutt Community Support Program to explore how to use the persistent surveillance might be employed. Persistent surveillance might be employed as a part of the city's crime reduction strategy in compliance with city surveillance technology use report policy requirements to ensure the privacy of community members is protected. Introduced this second day of July 2020 by the Honorable Thomas Oldenburg, Alderman 16th Ward.
Alderman from the 16th, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that resolution 24 be be sent to the Public Safety Committee, please.
Been moved by
Second.
16, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th that we send resolution 24 to public safety. Any discussion? Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please sign resolution 24 to public safety.
So noted. That is extend a first reading resolution.
Second reading,
We have none.
miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Friday, July 3rd, 2020, the office will be closed in honor of the 4th of July holiday. Tuesday, July 7th, 2020, public safety will have a meeting at 11 a.m. via webinar. Wednesday, July 8th, 2020, HUDs will have a meeting 9 a.m. Rules will have a meeting at 10 a.m. The full board will have a meeting at 1 p.m. all via webinar. And Friday, July 10th, the full board meeting will meet at 10 a.m. via webinar. That is the extent of the announcements.
Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, I get myself unmuted there. So on the public safety meeting, we're also going to have bi-state there to talk about the bus safety. They're letting people now board back on the front of the bus, which they really shouldn't. They've had a couple bus drivers die, so they're going to come in and speak to us. We're going to hear resolution 24. We're also going to hear board bill 92 and board bill 87. I'm going to put them on there, and if the sponsors want to hold off, they can, but at least they'll be on the agenda for the public safety meeting on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So we'll hear everything and hopefully keep things moving along.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to have a streets, refuse and traffic hearing on July the 7th at 9 a.m.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd also like to, we're already having a rules meeting, but this is a personal announcement. So is this appropriate time, or do you want me to wait till later?
Go ahead. It's perfect time.
I'd like to wish my mother, who will turn 85 on Thursday, July the 9th, a happy birthday. My mother has a group of people that she walks with. They are all in their 70s, 80s, and one is almost 90. They walk 4 miles a day, Monday through Friday. So when I get to be a big kid, I want to be like her. She's been a fantastic mother. She's fit. She is like the young people when it comes to following the rules. 5 of her siblings, well, she and 4 of her siblings are all 80 or above. My grandmother had 10 children. 2 of them have died. But my Uncle Fred is 89. My Aunt Gerald is 86. My mom will be 85. My Uncle Bo or Uncle John is 83. And my Uncle Rick is 81. So my grandparents died at 49 and 59 respectively. Their children are living their best life. This is a tribute to not being on the farm, being a sharecropper anymore, having access to health and being healthy people. And I just want to wish my mom, who's the best mom in the world, a happy birthday. I'm going to see her, but when I do go to see her, and she's in Illinois, I still practice safety, and she does not like that. She is very much opposed to that because I give her hugs and kisses in the air, and she does not like that. And I wear a mask, but I'm going to keep doing it because I hope never to give my mother anything that she can't get rid of. And I just want to say I love you, Mom, and happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Let's give a big round of applause and a happy birthday. Yes. Anyone, Alderman from the 14th?
Yes, along with the Alderwoman from the 1st, my daughter shares a birthday with her mother, interestingly enough. And I'd like to wish my daughter, Laura Owens, who is also my neighbor, happy birthday. Her birthday is July the 9th, and she is my youngest daughter. She'll be, I shouldn't tell this, but she's going to be 51 years old. So I'd like to wish her a happy birthday. And I appreciate that. And Alderwoman from the 1st, we kind of share a date there. Thank you.
Happy birthday to her. Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to confirm that we are having a special meeting on, or special session on Tuesday, July 14th.
No, it's should be Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Alderwoman from the,
sorry, can you tell me what why you're calling this special session?
you can see it on the agenda. The things are on the agenda. This is
we can't talk about it. Okay, thanks.
This is just the announcement. All right, so one from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also had the same question because the fine print at the bottom of the agenda is the first time I've seen that we're coming back for a special session. So will we receive any more announcements other than this? I know a lot of us have been waiting to make plans, especially given everything that's been canceled during COVID. So if there's going to be special sessions, I'm just curious how we will learn about them if we can get some more information.
Well, you'll see them on the agenda. And you'll also, when we adjourn the meetings whenever we have a meeting, we adjourn, the next regularly scheduled meeting will be announced then also. Good thing is since we're still doing it via Zoom, you can, join the meeting from anywhere as long as you have access to the internet. So it should not cut out any travel plans. I know I have some travel, and I'll be out of town. But I will be doing the meeting from wherever I'm at, right? Because we're doing them via Zoom. Any further?
So there will be an announcement of what's going to be on that agenda at that point, like why we'd be gathering.
Yeah, and you should know it just based on the way things are moving through the board. The things that
sorry to interrupt.
The things that go to committee, they come out of committee and they come onto the second reading agenda. There's never, just so we clear this up, there's never a surprise on any agenda at the Board of Aldermen. I mean, if you follow the bills through, you should be able to easily track what's going to be on the agenda, right?
Kind of like the budget.
I understand, Mr. President. In the last 3 years, we have taken a break, and so we picked up the agenda in September. So I understand what would be on the next agenda. We haven't done this in a while that we have scheduled a meeting during the break. So it seems like there would be an additional reason to come back besides just putting a break on. So
let's just move on.
All this line of questioning.
Are there any announcements? All right, are there any announcements? Alderman from the 25th. Alderman from the 25th.
Yeah. Thank you. STL TV is unmuting me. I don't mean to belabor the agenda topic, but we did have the agenda previously published that we were going down July 10th. So aside from travel plans, there are people who have other jobs and other commitments that these types of things affect. So it's nice to know that in advance of an agenda being published, but I digress. So two things. One, today is also the anniversary of the 1917 East St. Louis riots, where for those that aren't familiar with history, it was actually one of the larger riots in our nation's history, and was caused by a white population in East St. Louis rising up against the Black population in East St. Louis, largely stoked by fears of jobs being taken and other racial and class issues, and ended up with the indictment of several police officers for engaging in the riot, burning homes, arson, and theft. And so I think it's important for us to remember our history, that this is not a journey or a struggle that is just starting, that this has been going on for multiple generations of this city, this region, this state, this country. So I just wanted to highlight that today as well. And then I guess the significance of that actually made me think, forget the other thing that I was going to announce at the moment, but I'll come back to it, Mr. President. If there are other people that need to make announcements, it'll come back to me.
Great, thank you.
Mr.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
I would like to make an announcement that some residents are texting me that the online agenda does not show a special board meeting. And I'd also like to make an announcement that I'm just disappointed that we can't even announce the subject matter or the reason. This is a public meeting, and
Okay, Alderwoman, let me just go through this again. You as an alderperson should be tracking the bills that are coming through the Board of Aldermen.
I am, but you as the president should also announce when we are going to have a special session, because we all have childcare issues, work issues, and other trips planned. And some of those trips may not have access to internet. So it would be the responsible thing to do to likely send an announcement to all of us and let us know, and not read about it at the bottom of an agenda in small print. That's my announcement. Thank you.
Alderwoman, hopefully you remember that we were originally going down on the 10th, which is next Friday. So to have a full board meeting prior to going down should not have put any inconvenience on you.
Tuesday, July 14th is after.
I'm no longer going into that again. The 10th is next Friday. Wednesday comes before next Friday, so I have no idea why that's an inconvenience for you. But you can still.
Oh, the date is wrong.
It says Tuesday, July 14th. It says Tuesday, July 14th, and that is after Friday, July 10th.
You originally asked about Wednesday's meeting. You originally asked about Wednesday's meeting. But anyway, we'll have.
I asked about Tuesday, July 14th, not Wednesday.
I thought you were asking about Wednesday's meeting.
Why would we? Never mind.
So anyway, any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 19th.
Oh, there we go. I appreciate the alderman from the 25th bringing up the history from 1917. And just to add to that, for local reference, that out of that became the establishment of our Urban League office here in the metropolitan area. So they're also have a lot of history along that period of time and being involved with the resolution of all of that over a number of years. Also, we are celebrating this week the 100th year anniversary of the Negro Baseball League. And as you know, we had several of the most prominent players come from St. Louis. And one came from the Jeff Vanderloo neighborhood, James Cool Papa Bell. And we have a street name for him. And he was also the uncle of our now gone illustrious Norman Say. And a lot of people didn't know that he was his uncle. So we have a lot of things that we can celebrate. We have a lot of things that we need to recognize and also pull back and look at how things were resolved in the end to bring some harmony. I think that we have a lot of things that we unnecessarily have bad recourse on. Just listening for the last few minutes, I think there might be some misunderstanding about the agenda, but all our agendas are fluid. As you know, we amend them almost every day. Some days, 3 times a day, our agendas are amended. And we had a lot of work that we want to finish so that other people can do their work in a responsible time frame. So hopefully we can all get past this and be up to the, the full need that is required right now. I also wanted to say thank you to our staff because they've been through it the last 3 weeks especially. We've all been piling on a lot, trying to get a lot done. And they've tried to keep up. Some of them work to 11, 12 o'clock at night to get our agendas ready for us and get them online. And I appreciate all the extra effort everybody has given. And I would pray and hope that we can calm down and get to the end of this session. People are depending on a lot of these bills to get done now so other work can move forward. So just think about that and think about what's going on with our COVID numbers rising. It's frightening. We don't need to be arguing about an agenda. Thank you very much, Mr. President and members of the board.
Thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Our own Mr. Clerk family survived the East St. Louis riots, and he has a great story that I've often heard, but I would hope that the board would indulge me by allowing him to share that story again today as part of this rich history.
All right. Mr. Clerk, are you prepared for that? Can you give us a background of that history?
Well, many of you may know that my father was born 1910. And so he was 7 years old when the rioting began. The families, he actually tells a story of how it started in February of that year and how really white mobs were attacking children as they were trying to go to school. And so they would get escorts on the way to school there in East St. Louis. East St. Louis is a big and thriving city at that time. But on July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, those 3 days were the worst that they had seen. The crowds besieged that portion of the city, which they called the Black Bottoms, and set fire to homes. And I, particularly my father's home with my grandmother and grandfather, they shot into the front of the house and had people standing with torches in the back. So they all jumped out a side window and hid in the grass for about 18 hours before the crowd reduced enough for them to be able to leave. Then they tried to get to the St. Louis side by going over the Eads Bridge. And the St. Louis city at the time didn't fully know what was happening, so they would not allow the refugees to come over into the city. So they went back over to East St. Louis, and my grandmother built a raft and brought the children to St. Louis across the river. If that had not happened, we would not be here. Samuel Kennedy wouldn't have sat on this board for 21 years, and certainly one of his children would not be here talking to you right now. It is said that that is one of the worst race riots in the history of the country in 1917. That was started by a number of issues. The aluminum coal business was there, and so white workers were afraid the black workers were going to take their jobs when there was some picketing going on. So there are a number of reasons and issues behind it. One of the elders, we did a celebration, not a celebration, but a commemoration of it in 2017 on the bridge where we had the mayor of St. Louis, the mayor of East St. Louis. We had about 3,000 people show up on that bridge to hear those stories. We met right at where Missouri and Illinois meets on that bridge. And the mayor here spoke, the mayor from East St. Louis. In 1997, we did a commemoration of it as well. There was still one of the survivors living. And she told the story of what it was like to us. We already heard it from our father. But the strange thing she said to my brother who was interviewing him, she said, "Baby, who is you?" And he told her, "My name is Gary Kennedy." She said, "Kennedy." She was 100 years old. She said, "Kennedy, Kennedy. I heard that mother built a raft and took them children across the river," is what she said. Not only confirming, but affirming to us the significance of what happened that day. So each year we go down to the river and we put flowers in there in remembrance of both the struggle of our people, the struggle in this area, the necessity of continuing to work to end racism, to hear one another, and to praise the fact that Catherine Horn Kennedy, my grandmother, made it across that river with Samuel Kennedy so that we could stand here and sit here today. Even when we argue with each other, at least we're alive to do it, because we could not have been if those things. There was one other elder who said he was a child coming across the river with his family. They were coming from Arkansas. They had no place else to go. They said the entire eastern horizon was on fire. And they went across and the police told them on the St. Louis side, "You do not want to go over there They said, we have no other place to go. And so East St. Louis has never been the same since then, but out of it has grown a number of things, including the Urban League, which was founded to give relief to the survivors of the East St. Louis race riot, and a number of other institutions that were. St. Louis had what they called a migrant home. And so when they did let Blacks across, they were able to stay there. So it's a much longer story. If any of you all saw the exhibit that was at the History Museum, we told that story there in an interview that was recorded. And that is a part of the fabric of St. Louis. Thank you for the opportunity to tell that story, but we are one of the surviving families.
And thank you for telling the story.
Wow.
That's a real rich history. Alderman from 13th.
Yes, I want to reiterate what the board clerk said. I was able to see that exhibition at the History Museum, and I said my husband and I went, and my daughter. And more importantly than us going and being reminded or learning something is that I took my grandchildren, and I thought it was very important that they know. And I remember the day we went. Then Alderman Kennedy was there, and by the exhibit that explained this riot, and my granddaughter has not forgotten that. She was a little younger at the time, and at first she thought perhaps that she tugged on me and she said, "Did that man go through that?" Because the pictures were all there, and I said no, but his father did, and his grandparents, and she has never forgotten that. So I was so glad I was able to see that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 25th.
Can you hear me? Is that yes?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. I also just wanted to take the time to remind everyone, I know we're not having huge public celebrations this year, but it is the 4th of July, Independence Day, our country's Independence Day, or recognition of our independence from the United Kingdom, Great Britain at the time. I know many of us have been experiencing this in our wards, but fireworks have been going off like crazy all across the city. I've actually had at least 2 fires that I'm aware of that were caused by fireworks in my neighborhood in the last week. So I just want to, for those that are listening, make sure that you're aware that, fireworks aren't just fun and enjoyable in the back alleyway, but they have severe hazards that happen as a result of them, not only to property, but also to life and limb. Some of the highest injuries or rates of injuries are to people's fingers, to people's hands, to people's legs, people's eyes. They're very dangerous. And so I encourage everyone not to use them, obviously. But in the event that you are, please be exceptionally careful. Don't use ones that, fly, bang in the air, cause embers to, fall on people's roofs or decks that can spark a fire. And certainly, please don't let kids use them that aren't of age. And so, but overall, don't use them in the city of St. Louis. We've got a very densely populated city. And that's not to even mention, but I will, the effect that it has on animals. Many pets, dogs, cats, etc., really don't have the context of what's happening, and it frightens them to the point of having anxiety attacks. So along with people, I have many neighbors who have anxiety just being in an area where there's a lot of fireworks going off, and it does create anxiety, particularly when they're going off later in the evening. So a little fire safety awareness, please, because it does also put our first line responders in jeopardy. I know that our response folks in our 911 call center are very busy. 4th of July weekend and New Year's Eve weekend. So I really want to be respectful of their safety and the safety of those that live in our city. But happy Independence Day, everyone.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Before we move forward, I just want to just say this, especially for all the people that are joining this meeting today. There continues to be a lot of misinformation put out about our rules and various different things like that. At Monday's meeting, our full board meeting that we had Monday, where there was some proposed amendments. We cannot amend a bill and then third read and finally pass it the next day. Right? It doesn't work that way. We have to have a 3-day layover period. That 3-day layover period is put in place for the protection and for the information sharing with the general public. Because otherwise, the Board of Aldermen, we can meet and drastically change a board bill that the public thought was going to go one way. We could drastically amend it, pass it out the next day without the public really truly being informed. So it's a protection that's been put in place for the general public. And then for our agenda, the discussion just happened a few minutes ago about our agenda. There isn't anyone on this board that can tell you precisely what will be on the agenda a week or 2 weeks from now, right? Because it depends on if the items made it out of committee, items that were engrossed or not engrossed, items that had to lay over because they have to have adoption first be put in place by ENA. So all of these factors come into play when we make up an agenda. So the agenda for the July 14th meeting, no one knows what that agenda is. It is absolutely impossible for the clerk to put together an agenda for July 14th meeting and say, this is what is on the agenda and this is what we're going to take up on that agenda. There are bills that are in rules and engrossments that may or may not come out next week, right? That will affect the agenda. There are bills that are sitting in committees and awaiting committee hearings. They may or may not come out of those committee hearings. So they may, which means that they would either be on the agenda or not be on the agenda, right? So when the Alderwoman from the 19th said that all these things are constantly in flux, that's what she means. And there's no way to truly, you can take a guess at it, but nobody can tell you what the agenda is going to be on the 14th. It depends on what the board has done all the way up to that point, which is why, my advice was to all the people, just track the bills and you can get a general sense of what can and probably will be on that agenda. But again, to the general public, it's so important that you understand that it doesn't work that way, right? No one here has a magic wand that can tell you what's on the agenda. There's no way to sneak stuff on the agenda. It doesn't work that way. We have to post and put notifications out. So every other person that shows up here who chooses to pick up the agenda should know what's on the agenda that day, right? And there are processes in place to assure that there are notifications going out to the public. Right? The fact that you can watch this through streaming today is because of a board bill we passed a number of years ago to provide more access to the public to assure that there were more ways the public could view these meetings. We also at the same time made it a requirement that the Board of ENA also had to be recorded live, not just audio, but audio and video, right? That was all part of our government transparency policies that we put in place and ordinances that we put in place. So we're continuing to try to do these things to assure that the public is informed. And it is a disservice to the public when it's portrayed differently. So please do not leave this meeting thinking that anyone can and has snuck something on the agenda. It just doesn't work that way. There's no way anyone here, not one alderperson, not the clerk, anyone can tell you exactly what's going to be on the agenda on the 14th. It depends on what has passed through committee, what has been enrolled, what has been introduced by various different aldermen people, right? So all of those things take into account what's on that agenda. Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate you bringing up the rules because I do think it's very important that we follow them. I'm definitely not opposed to meeting, especially when we need to move the business of the city forward. I would encourage us, though, to make sure we're doing it correctly. Under our Rule 4, if we have special meetings, someone is required to make a motion, and the majority of aldermen present are required to vote in favor of it in order to call that. And we can also have a special session that the mayor calls. So I just want to make sure that we're following our own rules. Thank you.
We are. Thank you.
Second.
Alderman from the 19th.
Sorry. Mr. President, I just wanted to, I was about to bring that up, but I know it's for you to ask for that motion. We could do it at the next meeting because we don't know for sure if we even need that meeting. That's another thing. It's based on how well we move forward, if those bills, or if an alderperson is trying to get something completed in a timely manner. So I appreciate you putting that out there, and we can vote on that if you'd like. If you
no, now is not the appropriate time to do that.
It isn't. Okay. No. So we can move forward. We have time to do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Mr. President, members of the board, all members are present.
All right, excellent. Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move to adjourn until next Wednesday, July the 8th at 1 p.m.
Second. Moved by the Alderman from the 22nd and seconded by the Alderman from the 10th, and a couple other people missed. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Stand adjourned. Thanks all. Have a safe weekend.
Happy holiday.